Pick up a pen right now. Hold it the way you always hold it. Don't change anything. Don't correct it. Don't make it look proper or polished. Just hold it the way your hand naturally goes when nobody is watching. Because what your hand just did in that one small moment, that automatic, unthought, completely unconscious grip, has been silently telling the truth about you for years. And today, for the first time, you are going to hear what it has been saying. Most people think the way they hold a pen is just a habit, something they learned in school, something their teacher corrected or didn't correct, something small, something meaningless. But here's what psychology tells us. The habits your body forms under no pressure are one thing. The habits your body forms under pressure, under stress, under tension, under quiet weight of daily life, those are completely different. Those are not habits. Those are survival patterns. And your grip on a pen is one of the clearest windows into that pattern that exists in everyday life. Carl Jung believed that the body and the psyche are never truly separate. What lives inside you, your fears, your coping patterns, your relationship with control, with uncertainty, with effort, all of it finds its way into the body, into posture, into breathing, into the way your hand wraps around something as simple as a pen. This is not about handwriting. It is not about whether you write neatly or messily. It is not a test of intelligence or creativity. It is something much quieter and much more honest than that. It is about pressure. Specifically, how you hold on when life feels uncertain, how tightly you grip when things feel out of control, whether you lean into difficulty or pull away from it, whether your body has learned to push or to surrender or to float somewhere in between. In front of you right now are 6 different ways people hold a pen, 6 grips. Each one is completely real. Each one is held by millions of people every single day without those people ever stopping to ask why. Look at them carefully. Don't rush. And before you even hear the explanations, just notice which one matches yours. Not which one looks the nicest. Not which one seems most correct. Which one your hand actually does. Because your grip did not start today. Your brain built this pattern years ago. Possibly in childhood. Possibly during a season of your life when you needed to feel safe or in control or light or invisible. And your hand has been carrying that memory ever since. Quietly, every time you reach for a pen, take a moment, look at the 6 grips, find yours, and then stay with me. Because what comes next may be the most accurate thing anyone has said to you in a long time. Not because it is magical, but because it is honest. If your grip looks like the first one, a tight, full fist wrap around the pen, all fingers closed, knuckles slightly white, the pen almost disappearing inside your hand, then your body has learned something important. It has learned that letting go is dangerous. Look at that grip. Really look at it. It does not look like someone writing. It looks like someone holding on, like someone who grabbed something and decided not to release it until they were absolutely certain it was safe to do so. And that is not an accident. That is not just a quirky pen habit. That is a window into the way your nervous system has been trained to respond to the world. People who grip like this are almost always people who are taught, either directly or through experience, that outcomes are not reliable, that things can fall apart, that if you do not stay in control, something will go wrong. This did not come from nowhere. Somewhere in your past, you learned what it felt like when things slipped away, when something you counted on disappeared, when the ground moved beneath you, and your body made a decision. It decided to grip harder, to hold tighter, to never let things get loose enough to fall. From a psychological perspective, this grip reflects what Carl Jung called an overdeveloped controlling function. The ego, which is the conscious part of the psyche that tries to manage life, has been working over time. It has been working so hard for so long that even in a simple task, holding a pen, writing a sentence, it cannot fully relax. It cannot hand over the reins. It stays on guard. And here's the truth that is difficult to hear. That guard has served you. It has absolutely served you. In a world that was once unpredictable or painful or demanding, your grip, both on the pen and on life, kept you functional. It kept you moving. It kept you from falling apart when falling apart was not an option. You should not be ashamed of this grip. It was smart. It was survival. But survival patterns, if never updated, eventually become cages, because life does change. The season that required such tight control may be long over. The thing you were afraid of losing may have already changed shape entirely, and yet the grip remains. The hand stays closed, the knuckles stay tense, and underneath that tension, very quietly, is exhaustion. The exhaustion of never fully letting go, of being responsible for everything all the time, of trusting nothing and no one completely, including yourself. The question this grip asks you is not a small one. It is this: what are you afraid would happen if you loosen your hold, not just on pen, but on the outcomes in your life? What would it mean to stop controlling the result and simply show up fully without guaranteeing how it ends? The answer to that question lives in the tightness of your knuckles. And until that answer is faced, the grip will not change, because the grip is not the problem. The grip is the signal. It is telling you where healing is waiting. The invitation for the person who holds like this is not to become careless. It is not to become passive or to stop caring about outcomes. It is to discover, slowly, that some things do not require your force to survive, that the world does not collapse every time you breathe, that trust, real trust, even imperfect trust, is not the same as losing control. It is the beginning of a different kind of power, a quieter one, a more honest one, if your grip matches the second one. Upright, pen held vertically, fingers structured and deliberate, the body of the pen well managed between the fingers. Then your inner world is shaped by something very specific, a need for clarity, a need for things to make sense, not because you are rigid, but because uncertainty drains you in a way that most people would not understand unless they felt it themselves. You are someone who likes to know where things stand. You like clear structures. You like when the rules are defined, when the expectations are stated, when people say what they mean. Ambiguity does not excite you. It exhausts you, not because you fear the unknown entirely, but because your mind works best when it has a framework, a solid base from which to think, plan, and act. And when that framework is removed, when things become vague or shifting or inconsistent, you can feel yourself starting to lose energy fast. In Jungian psychology, this relates strongly to what Jung called a sensation function, the part of the psyche that is rooted in concrete reality, in facts, in structure, in what is measurable and reliable. People with a dominant sensation function are the builders of the world. They are the ones who actually follow through, who create systems, who can be trusted to do what they said they would do. This is not a small thing. In a world full of people who talk and dream but rarely deliver, you are someone who shows up and builds. But the shadow of structure is fear of flexibility. And this is where your grip tells a deeper story. Because a pen held like this, upright, controlled, stable, is the grip of someone who has learned that if they set things up correctly, things will go correctly. And that works, often. But life does not always cooperate with correct setups. Life introduces variables. Life introduces chaos and uncertainty, and people who do not follow the rules, and situations that have no clean answer. And when that happens, people who grip like this often experience something they rarely name out loud. A kind of quiet panic, not explosive panic, not dramatic. A quiet internal tightening, a sense of things going wrong that they cannot quite explain to anyone else, because from the outside, everything still looks fine. The deeper truth beneath this grip is that you may have connected reliability with safety so early in life that you cannot easily tell the difference between healthy planning and fear-driven control. You may plan excessively not because planning brings you joy, but because not planning brings you something that feels uncomfortably close to danger. And that is worth sitting with, because planning from joy and planning from fear produce very different lives. The growth that waits on the other side of this grip is not disorder, it is trust. Specifically, trust in your own ability to adapt, not just to prepare. Because the deepest fear beneath this pattern is often this: what if something goes wrong and I cannot handle it? And the answer to that fear is not more preparation. It is a lived experience of handling things that went wrong and surviving them, of discovering, from the inside, that you are more flexible than your grip suggests. If the third grip is yours, relaxed but deliberate, pen angled naturally, fingers resting rather than pressing, the hand at ease without being loose, then you carry something rare, something worth protecting carefully, a natural inner balance that most people spend their entire lives trying to build. This grip is a grip of someone who has, somewhere along the way, found a working relationship between effort and ease, between holding on and letting go, between being engaged and being overwhelmed. It does not mean your life has been simple. It does not mean you have never struggled. It means that somewhere through the struggle, your nervous system found a middle point, a place from which you can reach outward into the world without gripping it to death, and a place from which you can step back without disappearing entirely. In the language of Jungian psychology, this balance reflects what Jung called a well-functioning ego, not an ego that dominates or controls, but one that mediates, that can hold multiple truths at once, that can be strong when strength is needed and soft when softness serves better. People who hold a pen like this tend to be the ones who remain functional when everyone around them is falling apart, not because they do not feel the pressure, but because their system has learned to absorb pressure without shattering. You adapt well. When plans change, you adjust. When people are difficult, you find your way through without either exploding or shutting down completely. When life requires patience, you can wait. When life requires action, you can move. This adaptability is not passive. It is deeply active. It takes a kind of psychological intelligence that looks invisible from the outside, but is working constantly on the inside. But this grip also carries a quiet vulnerability that is easy to overlook. Because you are balanced, people around you often assume you are fine. Always, they come to you with their chaos. They lean into your stability. They rest in the calm of your presence. And you offer it generously because it feels natural to you. What they do not see, what you may not even let yourself see, is that balance requires maintenance. And yours gets used in the service of everyone else so consistently that sometimes there is nothing left for you. This grip is not a warning. It is a gift. But gifts can be taken for granted, even by the person who carries them. The question worth asking if this is your grip is simply this: when was the last time someone offered you what you so naturally give others? And more importantly, when was the last time you allowed yourself to receive it without immediately trying to give something back? Your balance is real, but it needs to be nourished, not just deployed. Protect this quality in yourself not by guarding from the world, but by ensuring the world does not quietly drain it dry without you noticing. If the fourth grip feels like yours, the pen resting loosely across the lower fingers, held more by the curve of the hand than by any real grip, relaxed almost to the point of carelessness, then your inner world is guided by something that looks like ease but is carrying a secret beneath it, a secret about what happens when life gets heavy. People who hold a pen like this tend to move through the world lightly. They're often adaptable, easygoing, and genuinely pleasant to be around. They don't create unnecessary drama. They don't push for things to be a certain way. They tend to go along. And in a world full of people fighting for dominance or certain near control, this lightness feels like a gift. It often is. But Carl Jung wrote something important about the parts of ourselves that appear as ease. He said that sometimes what looks like peace is actually withdrawal, wearing a very comfortable disguise. And that is the shadow that lives inside this grip. The shadow of someone who has learned very early that the cost of carrying too much is too high. That engagement leads to disappointment. That effort without guarantee is too painful. So the hand stays loose. The grip stays light. And when things become intense, when the conversation deepens or the situation demands full presence, something very quiet happens. A small internal step backward, a subtle disengagement, not dramatic, not visible, just a loosening of the hold on whatever is happening until the intensity passes. This is not laziness. It is important to say that clearly. This is not about not caring. People with this grip often care deeply, but privately and carefully, and in ways they protect fiercely from the outside world. The looseness of the grip is not an absence of feeling. It is a method of protection, a way of staying present enough to be there, but detached enough to not get hurt. The challenge for this grip is intention, because go with the flow is beautiful when the flow is leading somewhere meaningful, but it becomes a slow drift when the flow is simply the path of least resistance. And the difference between those two things is intention, conscious direction, the active choice to engage, even when engagement is uncomfortable, even when things get heavier than you prefer, even when staying in the room means feeling something you would rather avoid. Your lightness is genuinely valuable. The world needs people who do not make everything harder than it has to be. But your lightness paired with intention becomes something entirely different. It becomes grace, the ability to move through difficulty without being destroyed by it, while still being fully present to it. That is not something many people can do, but it requires you to stay just a little longer than comfort allows before the hand loosens again. If the fifth grip is the one you recognize, pen resting flat across all four fingers, held horizontal, the body of the pen long and parallel to the ground, the fingers spread lightly beneath it, then your relationship with pressure is one of the most honest and also one of the most quietly exhausting stories in this entire video. This grip is the grip of someone who has learned how to carry weight without anyone seeing them carry it. You distribute the load. You spread it across as many surfaces as possible. You make it look effortless. You make it look light. And inside, quietly, something is very tired. People who hold like this often take on more than they should. Not because they want to, not because they are trying to prove something, though sometimes that is part of it too, but because somewhere in their history, they became the person who handled things. The reliable one, the one who showed up, the one who didn't complain. And that identity, the one who handles it, became so woven into who they are that they no longer know how to put things down without feeling like they are failing at being themselves. Jung described this as a kind of persona inflation, where the role you play for the world grows so large and so convincing that even you begin to confuse it with who you actually are. The capable one, the strong one, the one who manages. These are real qualities, but they are not the whole of you. And the flat, wide grip, this grip of someone distributing weight across everything, never fully resting the load anywhere, is the body's honest expression of that pattern. It is the physical form of someone who has not been given, or perhaps not allowed themselves, a place to fully put all down. The hidden cost of this grip is not always obvious. On the outside, things look fine. You are functional. You are competent. You are often the one others lean on. But underneath, in the quiet space where you actually live, in the thoughts you have at 2 a.m, in the tiredness that sleep does not fully fix, in the way certain small disappointments feel disproportionately heavy, the cost is being paid. Slowly, quietly, continuously. The question this grip asks is not about ability. You clearly have ability. The question is about permission. Do you believe you are allowed to set it down? Not all of it. Forever. Just some of it. Just a day. Do you believe that resting is not the same as failing? That asking for help is not the same as being weak? That your value as a person does not live entirely in how much you are willing to carry? Your body is asking for something. The grip that spreads across everything, that holds so wide and so flat. It is not the grip of someone at ease. It is the grip of someone who has forgotten that they are allowed to rest, and that forgetting is worth undoing. Carefully, slowly, but honestly. If the sixth grip is yours, pen held precisely, 2 or 3 fingers placed with clear intention, the angle specific and deliberate, the hand carrying a kind of focused and contained energy, then you are someone who brings intensity to almost everything you do. Not always visible intensity, but internal intensity, the kind that runs underneath the surface of an ordinary life and drives it forward with a quiet, constant, relentless force. People with this grip are almost never average at the things they choose to care about. When they commit to something, a relationship, a job, a goal, an idea, they do not commit lightly. They go fully. They think deeply. They push past the point where other people have already gotten comfortable and stopped. This is not something they learned. This is something they are. It runs in the way they think, the way they love, the way they approach problems, and yes, the way they hold a pen. But intensity, as Jung noted, always carries a shadow. And the shadow of the intensely focused, precisely controlled grip is this. The person holding it often has no idea when to stop. Not because they are incapable of stopping, but because stopping feels like something bad. Stopping feels like falling behind. Stopping feels like giving something up that cannot be recovered. So they keep moving. They keep working. They keep pushing. even past the point when the body is signaling clearly that something needs to slow down. You may recognize this from the inside. That particular kind of tired that is not just physical. That specific exhaustion that comes not from effort, but from never truly resting. From sleeping but not restoring. From pausing but not recovering. From technically taking a break, while mentally still being fully in the thing you stepped away from. This is the exhaustion that this grip is pointing toward. Not as a prediction, as a recognition. As the body quietly saying out loud in the only language it has, I have been working very hard for a very long time. The deeper truth beneath this grip is often something about worth. Specifically, about whether you believe you're allowed to exist without achieving something. Whether rest counts as a real thing, or only as preparation for the next round of effort. Whether the people in your life, the ones who matter most to you, would still love you if you produced nothing for a week, a month, a year. This sounds extreme. But the body of the person who holds like this often does not believe the answer is yes. And so it never fully stops testing. This is not a personality flaw. It is a wound that learned to look like strength. And it has been enormously useful. You have built things with this intensity. You have pushed through things that would have stopped other people entirely. You have shown up when others gave up. All of that is real. But the gift and the wound are the same thing wearing different faces. And growth, real growth, for the person with this grip, does not come from pushing harder. It comes from learning, at the deepest level, that rest is not the enemy of progress. It is the thing that makes progress survivable. Now you have heard all 6 grips. And something important needs to be said before this ends. Because you may be sitting with a description of your grip and feeling seen, or feeling slightly uncomfortable, or feeling like the description was close but not quite right. All of those reactions are meaningful. All of them are worth paying attention to. This test is not a label. It is a mirror, and mirrors do not tell you who you must be forever. They show you where you are standing right now. The grip you recognize today may not be the grip you carry 5 years from now. People change. Patterns shift. The body learns new things when the mind gives it permission. When experiences that build a pattern are finally understood, the pattern no longer needs to be so strong. Carl Jung believed that self-knowledge is not a destination. It is a practice, a daily act of choosing to look at yourself honestly instead of explaining yourself away. The grip you hold today is not your sentence. It is your starting point. It is the place from which your next honest step begins. And the most important question this video leaves you with is not which grip is better. None of them is better. They are all completely human. They are all responses to a world that was sometimes too much, or too uncertain, or too demanding, or too quiet. The question is simply this. Now that you see it, now that your body's pattern has been named, what will you do with that awareness? Because awareness, even small awareness, even quiet awareness, changes things. Not immediately, not dramatically, but it changes the air in a room. It makes something unconscious into something conscious. And once something is conscious, it can be worked with, it can be softened, it can be understood, it can begin to evolve. If this video reached something in you, if there was a moment where you felt recognized or challenged or unexpectedly moved, share in the comments which grip is yours. Not to compare, not to be judged, but because seeing someone else say out loud is sometimes the thing that gives us permission to say it too. And because the person who reads your comment may need to hear exactly what you are willing to share. Your grip tells a story. It has been telling it quietly for years. And today, for the first time, you listened.